In this episode of Supercharged Podcast, Ryan claims this is going to be a short episode when it's a totally average length episode. Angela compares currently available electric vehicles in the market, and then together we cover some of the latest electric car news.
Let's go!
Dipping in my Tesla. 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 Dipping in my Tesla.
Howdy, folks, and welcome to episode 6 of Supercharged Podcast. Whole team with you today: Ryan, Angela, David. Getting at you what might be a little shorter than usual episode. We've been running about the hour length. We'll probably be a little shorter today, but we wanted to get something in because we got a lot of stuff coming up over the next month, and probably only be able to squeeze maybe one episode in. We got David going on his cross the west road trip. I'm going to be in training for a month in Florida and stuck learning about a new airplane. And then Angela's going to be single here.
Hold down the fort.
In Oregon. So we wanted to get one in before everyone left town and busy summer schedules coming up. But we're going to start off with Angela's done a lot and heard a lot of questions she's been asked. And people know she's an EV enthusiast and podcast host. And she kind of got under the train of getting asked all these questions, and people were asking, hey, maybe either I can't afford a Tesla, or if I can afford a Model 3, it's going to take who knows how long to get one. So what EV can I get now, currently, walk into a dealership or order on a website or however you get cars from non-Tesla kind of places? I don't know how that works anymore.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It has been
for
a while.
you, sounds like.
All right, yeah. So I put together kind of a little chart here, and I'll be happy to post this. Do we have a Google Drive?
Not yet, but we can probably figure that out.
We should set up a Google Drive for a Supercharged Podcast, and so that when we do put together some of these kind of things, we can share them, because, you know, I'm a visual learner, so this is a heck of a lot easier for me to look at versus I'm sure if I was listening to it. But I'll kind of go through. This is just a really basic kind of comparison of what I consider to be the more common or the more popular electric vehicles at this point that are currently available. Of course, there's several others out there that I didn't include with this that just either are not at the same level of production and are not as easily available, or just, you know, aren't as well known, and I didn't put them in here. So I did think I would start out with the Teslas to begin with, just as a comparison, because I actually have had some people, you know, asking me even, you know, differences between the Model X and the S, you know, as far as ability or range and that kind of thing. So put this together, I'll kind of start out, you know, basically the top of the line, the Tesla Model X. Price starting point, and what I did here is basically just the what the company lists as their starting base price. Obviously, for all of these different brands, there's going to be a lot of options that you can do that will quickly make that price climb. And so I kind of just included the information for the very basic. So starting price of the Model X, $79,500. The range on that is about 237 miles. Depending on the size of battery you select, you can get up to 295 miles. Obviously, that's going to cost you a lot more. They do have three different seating configurations available, from anything from a 5-seat up to 7 seats. For those of you not familiar with the Model X, it's probably not very many of you, but it is the Tesla's kind of crossover SUV style of vehicle. So, you know, even with the higher number of seats, you still do have a fair amount of cargo as well. So that's kind of nice. As far as charging capabilities, you know, where can you charge this, or what kind of situation do you have? So I broke these down for all of these into level 1, level 2, level 3 charging. And for those of you not familiar with those, level 1 is 120 volts. So basically, what you plug your iPad into to charge. Level 2 is a 240 volt charge, basically what your dryer would plug into, or if you're at like a destination charger in the Tesla situation, that's what they'll have. And then level 3 is the high speed charging type of thing. So CHAdeMO, those sort of what you'll see in a grocery or in a store parking lot that's in the giant box that says electric vehicle charging or whatever. And then, of course, the other thing being that Tesla vehicles have access to the Supercharge network, which David and I were just discussing is technically in that level 3 category, although at this point only Tesla vehicles have access to the superchargers. So with the Model X, it has all three, so level 1, 2, and 3, as well as access to the Supercharge network. You can actually still get free supercharging, unlimited, if you have a referral code from a current owner. Little plug here, if you are interested in getting a referral code, David and Ryan both have one, so let us know and we would be happy to share. Going down the line here, so then
Can I make some of
Yeah.
the Model X?
Yeah.
I would just ask the question. A lot of people say crossover, and when I think the car industry says crossovers are typically like between an SUV and a car, like a mix
Right.
between those. I would almost say that this is a crossover between an SUV and a minivan.
Yeah,
Would you agree
that's
with
a good
that?
point. That is a really good point. Especially on the seating configuration too.
Yeah,
Like
just
if you go
yeah.
if you go with the 6-seat configuration with the X, it really looks like the interior of a minivan.
It's the coolest looking minivan I've ever
Oh,
seen.
for sure.
That's true.
Like by a considerable margin, but it does look very minivanish.
You wouldn't mind being a soccer mom
Right.
in one of those for sure. So that's a good point.
Okay.
And it's certainly a little bit bigger than the traditional crossover SUV as well.
Yeah.
A little bigger vehicle. So then moving down the roads down to the Model S, starting price about $74,500. Range on that at the base is 259, although with the up or the larger batteries you can get up to 335 miles. Generally, it's a 5-seat vehicle, although it's a sedan or luxury sedan, so a large one. You can get an optional rear-facing 2 seats for children or very small adults like myself to face backwards in the trunk. So technically, it can be a 7-seat vehicle. I don't think that became as popular as they expected. So
No, I don't think so.
traditionally,
you-
5 seats.
It's really interesting to hear those those range numbers, and you just cover the X. Those are the same range of batteries,
Right.
but just like the shape of it
and the size.
and the size. You
Right,
just like the
right.
whole like size and shape differential.
Weight.
Weight, like
right.
just all adds up to you can go farther. Same amount of energy.
Yep.
So just,
Yeah, no, it's an interesting
makes a big
thing.
difference.
It does. It really does. And actually that will come into play a little bit with these smaller ones. I didn't go into the size of batteries and that kind of thing because that does get a little convoluted.
And even-
But if you
even Tesla's moving away from even labeling that on
True.
the Model 3. They don't even
True.
really define what it is,
So if you do go in and actually research more of this beyond what I've provided here, you may find that some of these, smaller vehicles have smaller batteries, but then have similar range, and it's very much that reason. So anyway, interesting. So the Model S, same as the Model X as far as charging, levels 1 through 3, as well as the Supercharge network, and you can still get the free unlimited supercharging with a referral code. The Model 3, the elusive Model 3. I'm just kidding.
I don't
I'm
know,
seeing
it's-
a lot of them now.
A lot now.
There's
reality in
there's
my
a new
world.
one right down the road here too. So Tesla says that the starting price is $35,000 on that. That is not a currently available model.
Asterisk next to that.
I was gonna say I have to put that out there.
It's like Roger Maris breaking Babe Ruth's home run record. You know, there's always going to be an asterisk next to that.
This lost on me.
Sports
ball.
Babe Ruth hit 60 home runs in a 154 game season. They expanded to 162 games. Roger Maris hit one more home run in 8 extra games. So he technically set the single season record, but people got mad because it was Babe Ruth's record, you know, the
Yeah.
great Babe Ruth.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got to like
That's the
normalize. You got to
reference,
normalize them, like
Yeah.
number of home runs per game.
Billy Crystal made a movie about it. It's actually a pretty good movie.
Okay.
but-
Okay, so back on topic here. The Model 3. So like I said, if you are really truly looking for the base model of that, want to go for that lower end, still going to be a fantastic car, just you're going to be waiting for a while for that. But you can put in your reservation now. So range on the Model 3, 220 up to 310 miles, again, depending on which battery option you choose. And seating on that, it's a 5-seat sedan, so it is certainly quite a bit smaller than the Model S. So a little bit tighter seating, but still I think comfortably fits 5 adults. And it also has the levels 1 through 3 on the charging and access to the supercharging network, but the difference with this is that it is pay per use on the supercharging. They do not have the option for free supercharging. So moving on from the Teslas, I put down the BMW i3 as the next one, which is still kind of in that luxury category, but is sort of in a little kind of small SUV looking.
It's in a little, yes, it is definitely.
It looks like an electric vehicle.
I think it's adorable. Honestly,
yeah, I think it's a bad looking car, but
yeah, I really like it. But
It does look unique.
it
is
does.
the
It
nicest
does.
way to
I think
say
it's
it.
cute. So
futuristic too, at
Yeah.
some level, right?
Yeah.
starting price on that for $44,450. The range is surprisingly low. It's 114 miles. That kind of surprised me. And it actually only has 4 seats for being a SUV style. And it has levels 1, 2, and 3 on the charging. The Chevy Bolt, which is a fairly popular vehicle, I've actually seen quite a few of them around here. Starting price on that, $37,495. The range on that is pretty awesome, 238 miles, 5 seats, and it's, I don't know, you won't really call it a sedan. It's kind of a,
It's another crossover like, but it's
yeah.
An EV
hatchback,
right? Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Think like a VW Golf kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of a little Prius-y looking.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has level 1 and level 2 charging standard, and then level 3 is available as an option. So it's not a standard on that. The Nissan Leaf, which is also a very popular vehicle, especially we see a lot of them around here. Starting price on that, $29,990. The range is about 151 miles. It's a 5-seat, and it's kind of in that same vehicle sort of size as the Chevy Bolt, you know, kind of the Prius look to it. And it also has levels 1 and 2 charging standard, and then level 3 available as an option.
It's a credit, you know, to Nissan on the extension of the range of the Leaf over the years too. I mean,
Right,
it's getting into
right.
being 150 is getting into being
Yeah,
you know,
really,
a very viable,
really useful.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
very useful
Yeah.
past a small little, you know, you have a 50-mile range, or
Right.
which the original ones I think maybe start at 70 when they first came out with the Leafs. That's basically you can commute to work and back with
Mm-hmm.
it, which is useful in a very small thing. But at 150-mile range, you're starting to get into, it's a practical car for a lot of operations.
Right.
They've made promises that they'll have a longer range one soon.
Right, exactly. So, and something I should point out that I really didn't is that apart from the Teslas, the BMW, Chevy, Nissan, and then the next ones I'm going through, all of them are sold in kind of traditional sales room kind of situation, or like you would go buy a ICE vehicle, like you buy a pickup truck, that you can go down there and buy one supposedly right off the lot, depending on
Whatever they have
options you want.
available. Yeah.
They all have, the Tesla vehicles have, kind of certain packages you can get, but not a whole lot of individuality beyond that. Whereas, kind of the other ones that are that more traditional sales type of situation, those you can a lot more pick, what CD player you have, or, different, slightly more individual options on those comparatively. So anyway, so then the Kia Soul EV was the other one that we were talking about here. It's truly like a little SUV. It really does look like a small SUV. Actually, a pretty cool looking vehicle. Starting price on that's $33,950, and it has a range of about 124 miles. It's a 5-seat configuration, and I've never actually been in one, but looking at photos, looks like they're pretty comfortable 5-seat kind of thing, and it looks like it actually has a fair amount of cargo room as well. So
Yeah, I understand pretty sure about this, and there's no difference in cargo room between the electric version and the gasoline version of that car.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good to know. That's actually, well, I guess side point, but sometimes the battery takes up some of the
Sometimes it
cargo
does,
space.
yeah.
So that's a cool thing about that. It comes standard with availability to charge on level 1, 2, and 3 charging. So that's pretty cool about the Kia, that they don't have that as an option. It actually is just standard on the level 3. And then lastly, what I have on here for any of you that are looking for, you really just need a little vehicle to get you to and from work and you're not that far away. I put on here the little Smart Ford 2 EV, and they have a couple different options as far as their luxury line, their performance line, I guess. So they had a couple different options, but starting price on that, $23,900, and it actually has a range of 124 miles. Differences with it, it's only a 2-seater. If you have not seen what a smart car looks like, it looks like a clown car. I'm a little bit obsessed with them. I have wanted one since high school, so I think they're really cool. You can probably parallel park 2 of them in the same spot as one regular size vehicle. So.
I have seen one pulled straight in, like
Into a
nose
parallel
first
parking
into a
spot.
parallel parking spot, and it did not extend past the line. So I don't think it's ticketable. I think it's a legal maneuver.
The other difference with the smart car is that it actually only has the availability to use a level 1 or a level 2 charging. They do not have the ability to charge on a high-speed level 3 charger. So definitely the car for someone who just needs a little bop around, commute to work kind of vehicle, and you don't need to do a lot of traveling with it.
Yeah, probably great second car for a lot of couples
Yeah,
in situations.
yeah, definitely. So that's what I've got.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And David, you were mentioning there's a new one coming out.
Yeah, so I think, this kind of ends the currently available and
Right.
relatively easy to access cars. I mean, there's probably a few more, just
Right.
they're hard to get.
Yeah.
Then soon to be easy to access is the Jaguar I-Pace, and it is a crossover, but it is more a crossover between an SUV and a car.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear it's actually like around the same height as the Chevy Bolt, to kind of give you an
Okay.
idea. Instead of, it's not as big as, say, the Model X. So there's a lot of people that want to compare it to that, but
Mm-hmm.
they're actually not very similar in terms of traditional car sense.
Right.
And range is expected to be, the EPA hasn't finished rating it, but expected to be 240 to 250. It's going to start in the 70,000s. Should make it to US in September. And car reviews, I've seen a bunch so far because they just started their big press push. It says it's a really great car.
Did any of these reviews call it a Tesla killer?
Every single one
Yeah.
called it a Tesla
that
killer.
one bothers me. Why can't we just call these ice killers, right? Like,
Yeah.
can't we just hit the point that it's
I would
like,
say a fair amount of reviewers said they were like, they said it, but then are like, look, after driving this around, there's plenty of space in the market for this car to exist and Tesla
right,
to
what
be
the
successful.
EV market is 1% in the United States currently, something
Yeah.
in that ballpark. So, I mean, I think it's going to go up a lot. So, obviously, the competition is ICE vehicles. It's not Tesla. That's the
Yeah.
real
One
story.
of the
Yeah.
journalists got off the record comments from Jaguar that said this car I-Pace would not have existed without Tesla. So there's a lot of credit to them, but they don't really want to do the direct comparison. And it, as a car, it doesn't really directly compare.
Right. Yeah.
But very, very enthusiastic because the interior appointments, kind of show Jaguar's experience in building cars. And the electric powertrain is quite very good, but its drawbacks in comparison, if you did want to make it to the Tesla, is probably on the fast charging.
The supercharging.
Like the fact that Tesla has supercharge access.
Their moat, right? We're going to.
It's their moat. Yeah. So I'm pretty excited. I'll leave you with one more thought. Jaguar obviously realizes its heritage in high performance cars and sports cars. They decided to implement a fake noise so that you could feel the emotion of the car. You can turn this on or off, but in the Sport Plus mode, it has this spaceship. So it's mixed with a Jaguar gasoline engine noise. Like it's a cross between these two.
Let's just put a F1, race car engine sound inside and pump it.
In theory, it could have been anything, but they.
So does the sound come from is it like through the speakers
From the
inside
speakers.
the car, or does it have like a way to project it out so that when you're at a stoplight
you
you can
don't
like
hear it
rev your
outside.
engine?
It's only inside that you hear this soft and you can turn it off. But every journalist, of course, has in their review a recording, like they kind of show it off, and it is exciting. But I have to wonder if it would get old because you're like, this is fake.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the sound thing, just kind of a side note, I was listening to a Star Talk, which is Neil deGrasse Tyson's podcast, like a week ago, and they had an F1 engineer on, and he was actually talking about how much effort they put into reducing the noise of F1 cars because it's just wasted energy. But then production of noise, he was talking about, I found that interesting.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. But
Ryan and his random trivia.
random notes. But I guess we'll get into our next segment, huh?
Sounds good.
There we go.
Cool.
Elon's Twitter claim of the week.
So last week on Twitter, Elon tweeted that SpaceX, referring to, I guess I should give it background, he's referring to the Roadster here, but he says there will be a SpaceX option package for the new Tesla Roadster. It will include 10 small rocket thrusters arranged seamlessly around the car. These rocket engines dramatically improve acceleration, top speed, braking, and cornering. Maybe they will even allow a Tesla to fly. I'm assuming he's being a little facetious probably on the last part of it. But David, you were mentioning something interesting when we talked about this before, that there is some experience. Bosch had done some things with motorcycles in this that I wasn't aware of.
Yeah. Well, when I first read that, I was like, are they going to load rocket fuel on this thing? It's like, that sounds dangerous. Yes. But he did elaborate at some point, right? Where he did clarify this is compressed air.
Yeah, so a guy responded to him. He said, I reckon it's adapted cold gas thrusters using the upper stage rocket guidance, using plain old compressed air. And Elon responded, using the config you described, plus an electric pump to replenish air in the COPV. When car power draw drops below the max power output, makes sense, but we are going to go a lot further.
So I ran into this video, and I'll have to find it so we can link it in the description, that Bosch, being an automotive controls company, they had built a system for motorcycle that allowed it to correct for kind of loss of control. And so the video demonstrates this is what the motorcycle looks like when it loses control. And they built a rig so that the motorcycle rider did not get hurt. But then they turn the system on, and then you can see that little cold gas thruster kind of shoot out air from the side, and it corrects basically you see the motorcycle start to go down, but then the gas thruster gets it back so that the the rubber has traction again, and then he never goes down.
Right.
So
Yeah, because it doesn't
pretty cool.
seem the Roadster would need this for acceleration. I mean, we're already talking what's like 1.7 seconds or something, 0 to 60. I mean, but braking it seems like that
Could be helpful.
Could be helpful there, and
Or like in a corner maneuver where
Yeah.
it loses traction at one of the corners,
Right.
it could very, very much help.
right, interesting.
Or how cool it is to be able to say that your car has rocket engines.
You
Yeah.
could say that, and he
Hopefully they use this on a track, not not on the road.
right, and he seemed to back down too. I don't have that in front of me, but then they got into. He said the compressed air will replace. He called them the kid seats in the back. That previously they referred to them kind of smaller seats. You wouldn't want to. So it seems the back seats in the Roadster are not really. It's going to be more of a 2-seat car, maybe with kind of the jump seat you can get in the very back of the S. So interesting to note, but.
Seems like this will be a really cool option package that will also have a super big price tag.
I'm sure.
I'm sure. I'm sure. But cool, seeing more crossover between the two companies, I guess, and just they obviously want to make the Roadster just the most ridiculous car they can make, and
Like a halo car. It
Yeah,
draws people
I
to
gotta think-
interest in the brand.
I gotta think this thing's gonna be more or less handmade. I mean, this is not gonna be, much more
High
than that.
production.
No.
What's the
no.
base price? Is it
I think
200
it's
or
two-
250?
I think it's 200, and the performance base is 250. I
Yeah,
believe.
then let's place our bets on the SpaceX option price.
300. I'd say 300.
Oh,
or
so
more.
50 more?
Oh.
50 more?
You think more?
You're being conservative.
Am I?
I think so.
I'm going to go 80,000 more.
80,000 for that. Okay. Yeah. All right. So 350-ish. We're talking
Yeah.
when you get into that,
You're right.
because you're probably gonna want to put leather in it too. I mean, you're gonna want to do some other.
Oh, no, I don't want to
interior
kill it. I don't want to kill
Oh,
animals.
okay. Yeah. But and then autopilot. You're gonna have to pay for autopilot, 5,000 on that. And then yada yada. So yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it's gonna be an expensive car.
Are you, speaking of Elon tweets,
Yeah.
are you done with yours?
I
You
am.
good? Okay. Speaking of Elon tweets,
Yeah.
Model Y. Were we going to talk about that at all today?
I think we're kind of holding off on why for more news. I mean,
Alright.
did you have something to talk about?
Well, I
with
was
what?
just going to say that
March 15th next year. That's the date.
the little shadowed picture of it and
We can mention that. Yeah, I mean,
potentially no steering wheel. I don't know how.
yeah,
real that
I don't know
is,
how happy any of
but-
us are particular about that.
Yeah, a little fly-by-wire.
I thought maybe it'd have a joystick instead of a steering wheel. Maybe that's what he meant. People took that to mean, oh, it's just not going to have any driving. I thought maybe it's going to be something really weird, like a joystick. That might
Seems
work.
like you need to go back to driving school, even if the change
That's
to that.
exactly what I said. Ryan and I were talking about this at lunch today, and I said that I feel like if it has like a joystick, I wouldn't even know how to drive it.
I've transferred
I'd have to like
between
learn-
airplanes that have joysticks and yokes, and it takes about 10 seconds to get used to. It's really not that weird.
That's also in the air, not in traffic.
Okay, yeah.
A little different.
We use our hand. We use our hand to steer on the ground too.
All right.
I think that shadow picture out there is really interesting in that I think, this is my speculation, that if you are really careful about lighting design, you can highlight certain lines of the body and kind of conceal others. So it looks like it has a really high wheel arch. Like that's kind of like what it looks like. But I think that just might be a small crease on what is really more of a flowing panel. And because I went to go compare it to the Model 3, and I was like, oh, my car also has that crease, but it's really the overall, shape of that panel is just more curving and flowing over the wheel arch. It's not like it's this huge, crazy,
Hole.
and because you also got to be worried about aerodynamics. So I don't know if that's going to be true because it looks a little strangely shaped in the, but I think that might be a trick. We maybe have been played.
Interesting.
The design's probably not very final at this
Right.
point either. so-
Right. It's concept at this point.
They can
still.
play with it.
That's a straight drawing, I think, is what that is. That's probably Franz's freehand drawing, is what
I
I'm
would-
guessing that is, right?
I would guess that they've done some clay modeling,
Yeah.
if not more at this point.
Yeah,
Right, but
I
that
agree.
picture that was out in the conference call.
Oh, that could be
or
a
the-
rendering out of
Yeah.
a computer.
Right.
Yeah. It does look very much like some of those drawings I've seen from Franz, though, before. Some of those late things he had.
I was watching. I don't know why I'm going on this tangent, but Franz, I hear people talk about him and on some like Tesla reviews, and they're like, oh, they kind of guess like, oh, he's not from here. Like he's totally an American, born in America. I know his name sounds like he wasn't, but they make him seem like he's this like foreign design.
For those of you listening, he's the chief designer at Tesla.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we did get one email this week. If you want to lead me into that, David.
Mailbag. We got mail. That's all I got
That's all you
today.
got now?
Yeah,
No.
we really do need to record some real
We
entries to
really
these
do.
segments.
We've been lazy.
Yeah.
And not gotten to that. Yeah. Anyway, so last episode we did a segment on road trip planning, and we went over a bunch of different websites and apps that you could use to do that. But we got an email with another one. And I'll read the email and then explain it. It's from Paul B. He said, thanks for the podcast. You didn't mention EV Trip Optimizer, the iPhone, iPad app that includes all types of chargers and lets you add custom and works very well for segmented multi-day trips. It takes into account car, wheels, weather, trailer, weather forecast, including wind, car weight load, speediness, and aggressiveness. I have found it quite precise. I used to use EV Trip Planner, but found EVTO better able to handle the multi-day, multi-charger trips. Well, thanks for the info, Paul. We did download the app and play around with it. David, you're still in the midst of this planning. So
Yeah. I would say I was definitely impressed with the app. And thank you, Paul, because I was totally unaware to it. So really impressed. I mean, especially in comparison to EV Trip Planner, it has a lot more, it's pulling more data, it's thinking about more things, in the model. So I was impressed there. I would say that a better route planner, which is the other one we kind of landed on, was quite good, is pretty close in feature set to it. And one benefit there, I felt like it was easier to control adding charging stops that were unnecessary, but just because I'm human, I gotta go potty. Like, I'm gonna do that stop even though it's not
Don't have a
necessary.
Chewy yet?
I don't. No, I don't. I'm not gonna go potty in the car.
I don't know if he's compatible with the Chewy either.
Yeah, no. Like I just found it easier to insert charging where it would account that yes, I'm taking charge on at that location. But very impressed also with the graphs and things that the EV Trip Planner, definitely impressive there. I would call out its major benefit is one that Paul mentioned, like iPad.
Yeah.
It's a native app to iPad, and so it's a better touch experience versus trying to open Safari on the iPad and use a website. The touch targets are much smaller and a little bit harder to access.
And I
there.
think beyond the iPad, I mean, if you just have your phone with you, you're using just your
Yeah, there's a phone
and-
version of the. It's for both iOS screen sizes.
I will note, there is some of the more advanced features do require a subscription, which I believe is 99 cents a month. So that is something.
It's a fair price.
Yeah, but some of the other apps didn't seem to charge anything. So just something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
I think it is a personal preference thing. There's 4 or 5 options here that all do a pretty decent job.
Oh, yeah.
It comes down to what software you're most comfortable with. Just like some people are iPhone people, some people are Android people. I think there's a lot of good choices out there.
Yeah, I would definitely now add the EV Trip Optimizer, EVTO, to the 3 that we would say are all very good. And then you go and figure out which one's best for you. I was really impressed with that.
Yeah, great. Thanks for pointing that out to us, Paul,
Yeah.
because we were just not aware of it in our research. So, awesome. I think kind of our finishing segment today is just kind of like a rapid fire round. Just got a couple news things that came out. We want to just kind of touch on all of them. Starting out, kind of big news in the last week at Tesla, I guess, was again via tweet. Well, initially via an internal email and then via tweet to the public. After obviously that leaked pretty quickly, Tesla announced that they were laying off about 9% of their workforce, all in salaried positions. And this is in an effort to, again, hit the plan of profitability for Q3, Q4. And this has all kind of happened at the same time. Stock's been up a lot. This investor reaction seems to be pretty positive to it. Kind of shows a maturity level that they're trying to eliminate unnecessary positions. But at the same time, of course, people, anti-Tesla group, takes it as a big knock on losing a lot of jobs. And obviously, it's never comfortable when you got to go lay off 9% of your workforce. These are people that have given a lot of time to the company. Hopefully, all of them can find new positions. But it does seem, as far as getting to profitability, a positive move on Tesla's part.
Yeah. My thought is that if they do continue to grow, they might need some of those roles back. They may have just tried to grow those corporate salaried roles too fast.
Yeah, and to note, if you do the math, the 9% is somewhere in the range of like 3,000 to 4,000 jobs. Tesla has added 8,000 jobs since January 1st of this year. So it's actually, they're only laying.
They're kind of just pulling back a little.
Yeah,
their pace,
I mean, obviously, a lot of those 8,000 jobs are factory workers on the Model 3 assembly line that they've been kicking up. This did not include anything in Model 3 productions. No factory hourly workers were affected by this. This is all salaried, middle management kind of type positions. I think some sales maybe, but yeah, mostly. Or I think we're talking middle and upper management kind of positions. But to put in perspective, that's the amount of jobs they've added in the last 6 months. And it's just kind of a drawback from that. Maybe they did push too fast on a lot of those things, like you're saying.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Another note, this week UPS announced that they're actually buying 1,000 electric vans from a company called Workhorse. I don't know if anyone's seen these, but Workhorse is a startup trying to get into production that makes a very cool looking pickup truck, actually. They're trying to make an all electric pickup, which Tesla maybe down the road will make, but it seems to be a good market that they're getting into. But I think they've used the baseline to actually develop, it looks like, the normal UPS vehicles, that they have. Of note too, UPS in the last 6 months has ordered not only these 1,000, this was actually an order for 950 of them. They had an order for 50 of them previously, so they just stepped up their order on those. They announced they're converting 1,500 of their current trucks to battery electric in New York. And then they've also bought 125 pre-orders for Tesla semis. So UPS making a move into the electric vehicle.
Yeah. I have to wonder if they think that's just a no-brainer for them, because these are captive. Like they know how far these trucks
Right.
drive, so
Right.
they're like, oh yeah, that battery thing totally works for us.
Definitely. Yeah, it's they're running the same route every day,
Yeah.
for sure. Another note is a video. A lot of you have probably seen it. I guess the actress, Mary McCormick, her husband's Model S just started bursting out in flames, not with an accident the other day. Tesla says they're investigating it. Her husband is actually a director too, but this was down in Los Angeles. And I just looked at it, and the only thought in my head was, wow, it looks like there's not a flamethrower underneath that Model S. Obviously, there's been problems in the past with some Model S's catching fire a lot after accidents, which is common in ICE cars too. And there was early in Tesla's history a issue with road debris hitting under the battery pack, puncturing the battery pack, leading to thermal meltdowns and fires there. Tesla at the time did reinforce the bottom. I don't know, when you had your original S, did it come with that skid plate kind of thing, or did you get the retrofit kind of situation?
It was a retrofit.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you brought it back to them, and then
They added that.
Okay. So my best bet would be that there probably was some type of road debris in this situation, but we'll be interested to see how this plays out. I'm glad no one was hurt in this situation. But pretty impressive video with these flames coming out. I mean, this thing is shooting out flames.
It's a lot of energy.
Yeah.
It can burn if it is not contained properly.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess just the last thing I want to mention. I currently go to New York to work, and starting in the fall, I'm going to be going to Los Angeles to work. It's kind of a weird thing, and if not familiar with how airline pilots and flight attendants
It's
work.
not like how it is on LA to Vegas.
It's not like
Just throwing it out there.
so. A lot of us live wherever we want, and then catch flights to go to work and work in segments, and then take bigger blocks of time off, and kind of need a place to stay a couple nights a month down there. So I'm going down this week to Los Angeles to look at a couple older 1980s model sailboats, and getting into that. It's got an older diesel engine. At some point, it's probably going to need replacing. For the record, the sailboat, if you're not using the diesel, is probably the most renewable source of clean energy you can do, right? Just throwing sails up, old school. But there's a company called Torqeedo I wanted to mention that make really cool electric boat motors that are retrofittable. They make both outboard motors between 1 horsepower and up to 80 horsepower. And then they make inboard motors too, between 5 and 80 horsepower. And they also sell big battery packages that are specifically built for boats. They have, they're in a little encased waterproof kind of situation and have special shutdown modes if they get, submerged in water in situations. And just an interesting company. The batteries they use are actually based off of the BMW i3 battery packages too. So pretty cool. And you're looking at retrofitting a boat, somewhere it's actually in the range of comparable to putting a new diesel in a boat.
Oh, that's
when you look at it.
It makes it cost effective.
Yeah, so it's something might look at a couple years down the road if we have to look at an engine replacement.
Out
in
of
those
curiosity,
situations.
how do you charge those? Is it just a 240?
Yeah, or you can use a level 1 or level
Really?
2 plug. Yeah. So, most docks, marinas offer both options. Some have 120, some have 240 options, if you look at the different marinas. So, yeah, you'd probably be just plug it in there, and they might start charging you a little more than they might want to run the clock on your thing. But interesting to note. Yeah.
That's cool. Well, I have one more thing to share. I didn't produce a segment because I'm so busy producing my road
Your
trip
road
plan,
trip.
which is ahead. So I'm sure in an upcoming episode we'll come back and talk about that. But many stops. A couple of highlights like Redwood National Park, Yosemite, Death Valley, and also Monument Valley, and then Bryce Canyon National Park. So really excited about all these different stops. Lots of supercharger stops for the car itself, taking the Tesla Model 3. And so I think I'll have some interesting data about, I'll tell you how much it costs to use the supercharger network,
Cool.
given the fact that it's not free for the Model 3.
Yep.
And then maybe talk a little bit about real world efficiency for Model 3. I think that's going to be really
Be
interesting.
great, yeah.
So I'm excited to share that. And then if you're interested, you were listening to this podcast and you want to see a little bit more of that trip, I'll not only personally post some social media there, but I'll do a takeover of the @Supercharged Podcast on Instagram.
David's Supercharged Podcast Instagram takeover.
It even has a theme song.
Wow.
Yes, you're right.
Anything we do social media related.
Oh, it has-
I'm just
it-
going to do that voice.
It
from
has to have
Yeah.
that.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, so definitely looking to post. Given the name of the podcast, it will probably lean a little towards supercharging. But I'm sure we'll have a couple other interesting shots of Model 3 in cool places.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are listening, you have to picture this binder that David has created here.
That has to be the
That-
first picture on the podcast.
I
just to
think,
cover
I
that
think
binder
it
for
does.
sure.
I mean, he has a log in here where he's going to record everything.
Refer to it as my captain's log.
His captain's
it.
log.
Well,
sorry,
it's an
sorry,
impressive book.
sorry.
Well, how
It's
am I going to
impressive.
report data back
No,
to
I
these
think,
listeners
I think it's
if I don't keep
fantastic.
track
I
of
think
it?
it's fantastic. He has printouts of that and his route and all the stops they're going to make. It's very neatly organized with tabs for each day.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed,
It
David.
is impressive. Yeah.
Well,
It's like a
credit due to inspire from my dad, who was always a great road trip planner. He still is. I fondly remember our family vacations. So I'm just trying to
it's-
take over.
And it's Father's
Awesome.
Day today.
It is, yeah.
Oh,
Happy
hey,
Father's Day,
happy
Dad.
Father's
I
Day.
already gave
Father's
him a
Day
call.
to all of our fathers.
Yes.
Here. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I already showed him pictures of this, so he
Yeah.
was quite
He was proud of
enthusiastic
you.
about it.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Great. Well, I think episode 6 in the books. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you hopefully sometime next month. And enjoy your summers. Weather's getting nice out, so we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Bye bye.
Engine on hum, and I'm driving an electric, helping out the planet, plus I'm feeling real sporty. New type of swag, looking cool when I'm 40.
Supercharged Podcast is presented by David Zygmunt, Ryan Vinton, Cameron Larson, and Angela Vinton. Portions of Dippin' in My Tesla are courtesy of Jay Brave. Copyright 2010. Lufam Pro Entertainment. Visit us on Facebook by searching Supercharged Podcast, on Twitter @SuperchargedPod, and Instagram @SuperchargedPodcast. Have a question or comment you'd like to hear on the show? Call our hotline, +1 657 845 1673.